Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss one of the most important topics in Kubernetes, that is storage class. In our previous video, we talked about persistent volume and a persistent volume claim, and we also saw how a persistent volume claim can be used inside a pod or deployment to provide persistent storage for applications. Now in this video, we will understand why storage class is needed and how it makes storage management much easier in Kubernetes. First, let's understand what happens without a storage class. Imagine we have a Kubernetes cluster and we also have a separate NFS server running in a data center and managed by infrastructure or storage team. Applications running inside the Kubernetes cluster need persistent storage. So we use NFS backed persistent volumes. But before a Kubernetes pod can use that storage, there are several manual steps involved. First, storage team creates a directory on the NFS server. For example, mkdir-p/data/shpv. They add an entry in the etc exports file. This allows the directory to be shared with other machines. Then they export the directory using export fs-rev command. Next, they ensure Kubernetes worker nodes can mount the NFS share. If this works successfully, it confirms that Kubernetes worker nodes can access the NFS storage. Now let's see how Kubernetes uses this storage. In this traditional setup, the administrator or infra team creates a persistent volume, the DevOps team creates a persistent volume claim, then the pod uses the persistent volume claim to access the storage. Now imagine we have multiple applications. Let's say we have 3 applications running in our Kubernetes cluster. Payment service, analytics service, user service. Each application requires its own storage. In that case, for the payment application, the storage team needs to create a directory /data/payment, then update etc exports. The same way for analytics application, again create a directory /data/analytics and update /etc exports. And similarly for the user service, create a directory and update etc exports. This becomes a tedious process for the storage team, and at the same time the DevOps team has to wait for the storage team to complete these tasks before deploying applications. So this manual process slows down development and deployment. So in real production environment using Kubernetes, different teams usually manage different parts of storage. Typically, DevOps engineers create pods and persistent volume claims. Cluster administrators or infra teams create persistent volumes. Now imagine every time an application needs storage, the DevOps team has to request the administrator to create a new persistent volume. This is not practical in real environments because it slows down deployments, it creates dependency between teams, and it becomes difficult to scale when many applications need storage. So we need a way to create persistent volumes automatically whenever storage is requested. And that is exactly where storage class comes into the picture. Now what is a storage class? A storage class is another Kubernetes resource that allows dynamic provisioning of persistent volumes. In simple words, instead of creating persistent volumes manually, Kubernetes can automatically create them when a PVC is requested. Let's understand this with a practical scenario. First, the storage or infrastructure team prepares the backend storage. For example, they configure an network file system server. They might create a base directory on the NFS server, for example /sch data. Then they export this directory through /etc/exports so it can be accessed by the Kubernetes cluster. After that, this base storage location is exposed inside the Kubernetes as a storage class. This is usually a one-time activity done by the admin team. What happens next? Now the DevOps team does not need to worry about creating persistent volumes anymore. Whenever an application needs storage, DevOps team creates a PVC. That PVC references the storage class. As soon as the PVC is created, the storage class dynamically creates a persistent volume. For example, if a payment service requests storage, Kubernetes may automatically create a directory like /schdata/payment. Similarly, for analytics service, and the same for any other applications that need persistent storage. This entire process is called dynamic provisioning. What happens inside the pod? Once the PVC is created and bound to a PV, the pod simply uses that PVC and Kubernetes automatically mounts the storage inside the container. From the application's perspective, it simply sees a mounted storage path inside the container. Let's summarize the flow step by step. First, administrator creates the storage class, that is one-time setup. DevOps team creates a PVC. PVC references the storage class. Storage class automatically creates a persistent volume. Pod uses PVC and data gets stored in the NFS server backend. And that's it. No manual PV creation required anymore. Now that we understand the concept of storage class in Kubernetes, let's see how this works in a practical environment. In my setup, I have a Kubernetes cluster with one control plane node and one data plane node. A separate NFS server. The idea is very simple. On the NFS server, we will create a base directory. Whenever a PVC is created in Kubernetes, a persistent volume will be dynamically created inside this base directory. So from the storage team's perspective, all they need to provide is an NFS server, a base directory path. That's it. Now let's start by creating a directory on the NFS server. mkdir -mode is equal to 777 /sch -data. This directory will act as the base storage location. Next, we need to share this directory so other machines can access it. Open the export configuration file vim/etc/exports, and here add this entry. This means sch-data directory is accessible to the systems in the network with read-write permissions. Save the changes and come out. Now reload the export configuration using export fs-a and export fs-r. This will apply the updated export settings. Now we start the NFS service using systemctl start nfs-server and check the status. We should see that the service is running. To ensure the service starts automatically after a reboot, we can enable. Let's verify if the NFS share is visible using show mount -e localhost. Because we allowed access using star in the exports file, the directory should be accessible across the network. So you should see something /sch-data star. Here star means from anywhere. For example, if this NFS server is backed by a 1 TB disk, then that entire storage capacity is available under /sch-data. This storage will now be used by Kubernetes to dynamically create volumes. So at this point, our NFS is ready. Now we have completed two important things. First, our NFS server is ready. Second, our Kubernetes cluster is able to connect to the NFS server. The next step is to install the NFS provisioner. Why do we need an NFS provisioner? The NFS provisioner automatically creates persistent volumes inside the NFS storage whenever a PVC is requested. This is what enables dynamic provisioning of storage. Well, the easiest way to install the provisioner is using Helm. Well, Helm is basically a package manager for Kubernetes, similar to how apt or yum works in Linux. Don't worry if you are new to Helm, I will create a separate Helm tutorial series later. For now, just make sure Helm is installed on your Kubernetes control plane node. So you can check using Helm version. So in my case, Helm is already installed and the version is 3.14.3. If Helm is not installed on your system and you want to install Helm, you can follow the official installation guide from the Helm website. Next, we add the Helm repository for the NFS provisioner. I have consolidated all these steps regarding storage class demo in this Medium page. You can follow along. I will paste this link in the description box. Copy this Helm repo add and paste it here. So here we are adding the Helm repository for the NFS provisioner. Hit enter. NFS subdir external provisioner has been added to your repositories. You can validate using helm repo list command. So here we can see NFS subdir external provisioner repo is available. This repository contains the Helm chart for NFS subdir external provisioner. Before installing anything, it is always good to check the current Kubernetes context using kubectl config get context command. In my case, I am connected to the cluster kubernetes admin @kubernetes and currently working inside the shsitIN namespace. Best practice is to install infrastructure components like provisioner inside a separate namespace. Now let's install the provisioner using Helm. Again go to the Medium page and copy the Helm install command. Let's understand these parameters quickly. Chart name NFS subdir external provisioner / NFS subdir external provisioner. This tells Helm to install the NFS subdir external provisioner chart from the Helm repository we added earlier. --set NFS server. This is the IP address of our NFS server where the storage is located. NFS path set NFS path /scs data. This is the base directory on the NFS server where Kubernetes will dynamically create folders for each persistent volume. When the provisioner is installed, it also creates a storage class. So provisioner got deployed. If we do kubectl get storage class, there are two important parameters to understand. First one is volume binding mode. Here it is immediate. Possible values are immediate and wait for first consumer. Immediate means the persistent volume is created as soon as the PVC is created. Wait for first consumer means the PV will also be created when a pod actually uses the persistent volume claim. This is useful when Kubernetes needs to consider node scheduling before allocating storage. Next one is reclaim policy. So possible values are delete and retain. This settings defines what happens when the PVC is deleted. If we set reclaim policy as delete, when the PVC is deleted, the persistent volume resource will also be deleted automatically. However, an important point to note is only the Kubernetes persistent volume resource is deleted, not the actual data inside the storage. The storage data must be cleaned manually if needed. If we set reclaim policy to retain, even if the persistent volume claim is deleted, the persistent volume will remain in Kubernetes. So here our storage class NFS client created by the NFS provisioner. Before we move further, let's understand one important concept in Kubernetes, whether a resource is namespaced or cluster wide. We can check this using kubectl API-resources pipe grep storage class. So you will see an output like this. Let's understand what this means. First, API version, that is storage.kubernetes.io/v1. This simply tells us which Kubernetes API group manages this resource. Now the important column here is false. This column indicates whether the resource is namespaced or not. If the value is false, it means the resource is not namespaced. So storage class is a cluster level resource, meaning it is not created inside any specific namespace. It is available to the entire Kubernetes cluster. This is similar to persistent volumes, which are also cluster wide resources. Let's check persistent volume resource as well. Now notice the difference. Here persistent volumes is false, but persistent volume claims is true. This means persistent volumes are not namespaced. They exist at the cluster level like storage class. But for persistent volume claim, the value is true. This means PVCs are namespace resource. So a PVC must be created inside a specific namespace. Persistent volume claim is namespaced. The pod that uses that persistent volume claim must be in the same namespace. Before we prepare our deployment and PVC manifest, let's first check if there are any existing persistent volumes or persistent volume claims in the cluster. kubectl get PV, no resource found, kubectl get PVC, no resource found. So we don't have any PV or PVC in our cluster. Now let's create a new persistent volume claim. I will switch to my IDE. Inside Kubernetes playlist, under day 15 folder, I will keep all manifests related to storage class demo. For simplicity, I will copy the persistent volume claim manifest we created earlier in the previous demo from day 14. Copy this and paste it here. Let's quickly understand the important fields. Kind persistent volume claim. This tells Kubernetes that we are creating a persistent volume claim resource to request storage. Access mode read write many. This means multiple pods can read and write to the same storage simultaneously. Here storage class name is SCHPV. Update it to kubectl get storage class NFS client. This tells Kubernetes which storage class should dynamically provision the storage. Then resources, storage 100 MI. This means our application is requesting 100 MB of storage. Once this PVC is created, the storage class will automatically create a persistent volume in the NFS server. Next, let's copy the deployment manifest as well. So here the PVC name in the deployment must match the PVC we created earlier, that is SCHPVC. Let's walk through the deployment. Here we are creating a deployment resource for our backend application in the SCHSIT IN namespace. Replicas 2. This means Kubernetes will run two identical pods for high availability. Inside the template section, we define the pod specification. Before the main application starts, we run an init container. This container simply creates a log directory inside the persistent storage before main container starts. This ensures the logs directory always exists inside the persistent volume claim. Next, we define the main container. This container runs our student's backend application. We use an important trick here. See, this automatically captures the name of the pod. Why is this useful? Because we have two replicas and we want separate log files for each pods. So we configure the log path like this. Logging file name, data SCHPV logs, then pod name is coming from here, .log. This means each pod will write logs into its own log file inside the shared storage. Then mounting the PVC. Now we mount the persistent storage. This mounts the PVC inside the container. Finally, we link the volume to the persistent volume claim. So this deployment is using the persistent volume claim named SCHPVC, and that PVC will automatically trigger dynamic persistent volume creation using the storage class. Now we save the file and push them to GitHub using git add dot git commit -m pvc and the deployment manifest added to demo storage class. This is the message I am providing, and git push. Now let's test everything in our Kubernetes cluster and see dynamic provisioning in action. On my Kubernetes cluster, I have already cloned my repository called Kubernetes playlist. First, I will pull the latest changes using git pull command. Now I will navigate to the day 15 directory, cd day 15. Now let's apply the pvc manifest using kubectl apply -f shpvc.yaml. Now let's validate whether the pvc is created using kubectl get pvc. We can see shpvc is being created. And here is the interesting part. Because we are using a storage class, the moment the pvc is created, a persistent volume is automatically created. Let's verify that using kubectl get pv. So here we can see the PV has been created automatically, and it is claimed by shsitIn namespace, and the persistent volume claim name is shpvc. Now let's go to our NFS server and navigate to the base directory, that is sh-data, and do ls. You will notice something interesting. A new directory has been automatically created. The folder name usually contains the persistent volume claim name and a unique ID, and it will also have the current timestamp. The directory was created automatically by the NFS provisioner. We did not create it manually. Now let's deploy our application using kubectl apply -f students deploy.yaml. Deployment created. So validate the deployment using kubectl get deploy command. So deploy is getting created here. We can run kubectl get all command as well. So what happens behind the scene is the deployment creates a replica set, and the replica set creates the pods. Those pods automatically mount the PVC. Verify volume mount. Let's describe one of the pods. kubectl describe pod and then pod name. Here you can see inside the container the storage is mounted at /data/schpv. Now let's check the NFS server again. Here inside base directory, that is /schData, cd to sch, here under logs. So inside that directory you will see log files created by the application pods. Each pod writes logs to its own file. This confirms that the application pods are successfully using the persistent storage provided by the NFS. So what did we learn here? Earlier we had to manually create persistent volumes, but now with storage class and NFS provisioner, the process is fully automated. Whenever a new application needs storage, DevOps team creates PVC, persistent volume is created automatically, and storage is mounted to the pod. This is called dynamic provisioning. In real production environments, if you deploy another application, you just need to create a PVC, create the deployment, and Kubernetes will automatically create the persistent volume and a storage directory for that application. No manual storage work is required anymore. Before we end this video, I have a real Kubernetes interview question for you. The question is, what happens to the data in NFS if the PVC is deleted but the storage class reclaim policy is set to retain? Share your answer in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, like the video, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching and happy learning.